Good evening.
Hello, Professor.
Hi there. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening. Just 1 or 2 minutes, Professor, so we can just start off.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks. Hello, Mr. Anil. How are you?
How are you, Dr. Harish?
Yeah, doing great.
Professor
Thanks.
Liad Wagman, how are you? Good morning
Very
to
good.
you.
Good to see you, Mr. Anil.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Anil has taken, and his team has taken a lot of efforts to organize this, Professor. So,
Oh, thank you very much.
I
Thank you very much
appreciate
for
Mr. Anil. Yes.
doing that. Yeah.
Welcome. I think we can start the event.
Yes.
All right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to one and all to this special online session on higher education options for young professionals. I'm your host, Anjal, and I will be guiding you through this informative and engaging event. Today, we will be having two talks. One on the economic impact of data regulation, and next one on the global chain supply of analytics, which will be handled by Dr. Liad Wagman and Dr. Bulent Erenay, respectively. It is with great pleasure that I extend a warm and enthusiastic welcome to our distinguished speakers. A warm welcome is this universal language of good hospitality. I invite Dr. K. Keshavaswamy, advisor of IEEE ETSA Kerala chapter, to deliver the welcome speech. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good evening to all in India and good morning to all in West. I am very happy to welcome the speakers and the participants of this webinar on behalf of IEEE Education Society Kerala section. It is a privilege to all of us to listen to Dr. Liad Wagman, Professor of Economics at Stuart School of Business at Illinois Tech, and Dr. Bulent Erenay, Assistant Professor of Management, Haile College of Business at Northern Kentucky University. This session on higher education opportunities is important for our young engineering students of Kerala who are in the process of defining their future. I would also specifically welcome Professor Harish, the Professor of PG Institute of Management, Coimbatore, the institute which enables such a global connectivity for our young students. In this context, I am happy to add that I am personally connected with PhD group of institutes for over 2 decades, as I was in the Board of Studies of Computer Science and Engineering at the PhD Institute of Technology, Coimbatore. PhD group is known for enabling education beyond their conventional boundaries. We are very glad that PhD Institute of Management is our partner. Thank you, PhD. I would conclude by welcoming the young engineering students of Kerala. I always find them a very vibrant lot. The IEEE leaders, the academicians, and professionals who are participating in this event. Welcome all. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful welcome. I invite Dr. Harish, Professor of PhD Institute of Management, to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Liad Wagman, to the audience. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. At the outset, I would just like to thank Dr. Keshavaswamy, and it's been a nice honor for PhD Institute. And I think the association is long, over 2 decades. That's phenomenal, and that's nice. And I would also like to thank the IEEE Association, Mr. Anil and his team. And I think Dr. Liad, I think we can start the session. Thanks.
Wonderful. I'm going to share my screen. I'm just going to ask that if you are not speaking, if you could have your microphone on mute, please.
Yes.
Great. I assume everybody can see this. Is that right?
Yes, it's
Yes, we can see. Yes.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you for having me here this evening. It is my utmost pleasure to speak to you a little bit about myself, about where I come from, and about the economic impact of data regulation. So a little bit about me to start with. I began my academic education in computer science and math. I went on to get a master's in computer science and economics, and I went on to get a doctorate in economics. And ultimately, I kind of moved from the computer science side of things into the more business side of things. And I landed in business schools at multiple institutions, including at Illinois Tech, at Duke University, at Stanford University, and at Northwestern University. I've also worked at the US federal government, particularly at the Federal Trade Commission, where I was responsible for regulating large technology companies. I'll speak more about that later on. I've also served as an expert witness in high-profile litigation cases, including US federal cases. I've given federal testimony, and I've provided amicus briefs, including to the US Supreme Court. Most of these activities pertain to technology. I've also served as a consultant to various technology companies, including startups and large technology companies. And currently, I serve as the Dean and Professor of Economics at Illinois Tech's Stuart School of Business in Chicago. And a little bit about Stuart. Stuart came to be through various iterations towards the late part of the 19th century, the late 1890s, where business courses, particularly home economics, household management, were initially offered in Chicago in order to attract more people into the workforce and aid society with a noble goal, aiding society with the rapid urbanization of the time. There was an industrial revolution in the US. There was a revolution in Chicago itself. And the noble goal at the time was to aid society in acclimating to that revolution. So as part of that, we've been teaching business at Illinois Tech for about 125 years now. We are the origin of some of the nation's courses in analytics. At the time, it was called Family and Consumer Science. Now it's called Consumer Analytics, Marketing Analytics, Business Analytics, but the origin is traced back to those 1890s years where we began to offer those courses. We also offer the world's first program in quantitative finance in the 1990s. That program exists today, and I'll speak more about it later. But it basically established quantitative finance as an academic discipline, something that didn't really exist before. And it transformed business school education worldwide as a result. So to give you a quick snapshot, this is some of where we're located. We are in Chicago. Chicago has one of the most beautiful skylines in the world. It is a global financial hub, and Stuart himself, Harold L. Stuart, after whom the school is named, is one of the big reasons that it's become a financial hub. Stuart had his investment bank located in Chicago, and that investment bank is responsible for financing some of the largest activities of the time in the first half of the 20th century, including the train lines in Chicago. So funny enough, Stuart is whom we have to thank for those train lines. We have multiple campuses, 2 in Chicago. This is the main campus. We call it the Mies campus. It's named after a renowned 20th century architect, Mies van der Rohe, who designed the campus and was the dean of architecture. And we also have a downtown campus that's right next to the Sears Tower, or as it's known now, Willis Tower, in the downtown area. This is a quick snapshot to show you the world's first financial markets and trading, the quantitative finance program that was offered in the early 1990s. All right, I'm going to go quickly now into the topic of conversation today. It's kind of a build-up for this. Some of the individuals that served on campus as faculty helped place the groundwork, kind of the foundation in place for this sort of research. They've also placed the groundwork in place for a lot of the curricular innovation that happened on campus. This includes Herb Simon, who went on to win the Nobel Prize in economics and wrote his most influential work on campus on administrative behavior. He went on to win top prizes in computer science and artificial intelligence and in psychology. Just an amazing individual. It includes Abe Sklar, who spent his entire academic career at Illinois Tech and developed the copula, one of the core concepts in financial modeling. It includes Carl Menger, who developed expected utility theory in economics. As you can tell, I have a background that kind of traces from computer science and economics to the business side. And this is something that we encourage at the university, this sort of interdisciplinary background. I've completed a lot of works. These are just a snapshot of academic papers I've written. Obviously, I don't expect you to look at all of these titles, but if I could just highlight a few things, you'll notice that most of them have to do with technology. They have to do with competition or antitrust. They have to do with data regulation or privacy. And kind of the general theme is this interface between technology and economics. And if you trace it back to my work at the Federal Trade Commission, where our mission is twofold, it's to protect competition and to protect consumers. And my work has to do with these two objectives as well. So I can start off with a quick study that I completed while I worked at the government recently. And it is on acquisitions of startups primarily by large companies. And the companies of focus in this study are what we call GAFAM, or Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft. Obviously, Google now is known as Alphabet. Facebook is known as Meta. But at the time, this was the name that the 5 companies were given as the 5 large technology companies. And this particular study focused on their acquisitions over the past decade, from 2010 to the end of 2019. And what it points to is an expansion in technology. So we can see acquisitions, for instance, of data-intensive firms by leading technology groups trending up over time. And this is focusing on data-intensive firms because a big concern is consumer privacy, is online privacy, is digital privacy. And so we see this increasing trend in acquisitions of firms that hold a lot of data. And that points out to a potential increasing concern that the 5 largest technology firms not only have a lot of data from their own activities, but they also have a lot of data through acquisitions. This trend is not limited to GAFAM, to the 5 large technology companies. It is actually something that we see with a bunch of other groups. So it includes the top 25 private equity firms. It includes the top 25 technology companies, excluding GAFAM. And it includes the top 25 technology companies in terms of acquisition activity, the ones that are most acquisitive. So this trend, this sort of upward trend, we notice it across the board. Now, if you're wondering about who buys technology companies, I just want you to focus on this highlighted part. Companies across sectors in the economy, from finance to information to services to supply chain and trade, all buy technology companies. This is something that we see across the economy. So when we look at the data, we look at the data of acquisitions by publicly traded companies. That's the focus here. We see that these acquisition activities are not limited to firms in, say, the information sector. They're across the board. And when we break it down into specific business categories within these sectors, we see that it cuts across business categories from educational, administrative, healthcare, arts and entertainment, accommodation and food, mining, utilities, construction, manufacturing, wholesale trade, retail trade. Really, across business categories, companies are buying technology companies. So technology is transforming all sectors of the economy. We see this through acquisition activity. So another question that we can look at in terms of cutting the data a different way is whether the companies that buy these startups are primarily high-tech oriented companies. And the answer is no. I mean, they are cutting across, again, the spectrum of technology. So it could be even traditional companies like mining companies that are buying these technology startups. So it really cuts across. No matter how you look at it, it cuts across. Here is another way to look at the data, whether the business area of the acquired company is related or unrelated to the acquirer. And the answer is, it is mostly unrelated. So these acquisitions are meant as a way to have a differentiating factor for the acquirer. They're meant as a way to get an on-ramp to work outside the core business area of the acquirer. It's meant as a way to expand. All right. Now, there are some really cool analytics we can do in terms of analyzing the motivation for these acquisitions. Why are firms buying these technology companies? So one measure that exists in the literature is a measure of competition between any pair of publicly traded firms that are on the stock market. And this measure allows us to get a continuous sense for the level of competition. And if we use that measure, we quickly find that a big motivation for acquiring technology companies is when you face more intense competition in your core business area. And the analysis, the statistics, the econometrics tells us that right away, that firms that face more competition from incumbents, from other firms in their core business areas, are more likely to go outside of their core business area and acquire technology companies. And the reason they do that is to diversify, to differentiate, to get outside of that more intense competition that they're facing in their core business areas. So in other words, healthy competition is actually a precursor to mergers and acquisitions, because it encourages firms to get outside their core business areas where they're facing that intense competition. Another motivation for acquiring these technology companies based on the data is that once you do that, your market value tends to go up. So these acquisitions can be beneficial to your shareholders. Okay. So that's some quick recap of what the data tells us about acquisitions. Now, given that all of these technology startups are being acquired, given that many of them have sensitive data, many of them have personal identifying information, what we call PII in the lingo of privacy. Given that, what can we say about the impact of data regulation? And the general hypothesis here is that if we impose restrictions, severe restrictions, on the ability of data to flow across firms in the economy, then these restrictions can harm the ecosystem of technology startups. They can harm investment in technology companies. And this would point to a trade-off between the innovation that happens in the technology ecosystem and the protection of individuals' privacy. And if there is this trade-off, then policymakers who create new laws that govern data flows have to be cognizant of these effects. Because if they're not, then they could be creating more harm with the potential cure to data concerns, to privacy concerns, than the quote-unquote disease they're trying to solve. Okay, and this is kind of the general hypothesis. And as you can see, it is a big hypothesis, and it has major implications that cut across the globe, right? So how do you look at this hypothesis? How do you test it? Well, one of the tests I've done is looking at the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. And if you're unfamiliar with GDPR, it is a major regulation that Europe enacted back in April 2016 and officially rolled out on May 25, 2018. So 5 years ago. And although it was 5 years ago, this is a very much a real-time issue. And I'll show you an example why. So under GDPR, consumers decide on who accesses their data. They can manage it, they can delete it. Firms must have legitimate interest or contractual legal basis, or they get an opt-in consent for collecting this data. In practice, most rely on this opt-in consent, these pop-ups that consumers have to sign on. Some large firms might just choose not to deal with European Union's citizens' data because they just don't want to risk violations, because the cost of violation is huge. It's up to 4% of global revenues by the firm. Bloomberg indicated ahead of GDPR's launch in May 2018 that the 500 largest corporations are on track to spend a total of $8 billion or so to comply. And once the regulation took effect, things did not end. Okay, this is again a very much a real-time issue. So to give you an example, this past January, about 4 months ago, the Irish Data Protection Commission fined Meta or Facebook with a 400 million euro fine or so. In March, Meta, in response to this fine, agreed to let users opt out of some targeted ads, but only in Europe. And a few days ago, about 2 days ago, Meta was fined $1.3 billion by the Irish Data Protection Commission over a separate issue of European citizens' data being transferred to the US. So this is very much a real issue. As of a couple of days ago, this is still happening. This regulation, GDPR, is still being fine-tuned in many ways. And this was the largest fine. This $1.3 billion was the largest fine. And this fine is still small compared to what GDPR allows. To reiterate, GDPR allows up to 4% of a company's global revenue as a fine. And Meta's revenue is significant, is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. So how do we test the effect of this regulation on the startup ecosystem? How do we test the hypothesis? So to do that, I went on to gather a lot of data that predates GDPR's enactment, not rollout, but enactment in 2016. And the data goes through at least 2020. I've actually extended it recently through the end of 2021. And it has a lot of information on all the European ventures, all their investors, what type of funding they receive, when they receive it, how much funding they receive, what the funding stage is. Is it the early stage, or is it the main stage of the venture's growth? A lot of investor information on investor location, their portfolios. To give you a very, very simple example, imagine you have a list of some startups. You see the location of those startups, which country they're located in, which state they're located in, how much they raised, when they raised it, what the investment stage was, what the business category is of the startup, when the startup was founded, and so on. And we can immediately, once we have this data, do a lot of analytics on it. We can compare the EU and the US and the rest of the world. We can compare them in dollar raised on average per transaction, per deal, per fundraising round. We can compare them by age. We can compare the number of deals per month. The US and the EU look pretty similar in terms of the distribution of firm ages. You can see that most of the firms are in the very early stage of 0 to 3 years old. And then there are some that are in the 3 to 6 year old and so on. And you can see that most of the deals happen for the youngest firms because those deals tend to be smaller amount. Those are the seed stage deals usually. So we can also look at the data in different ways. We can look at the number of deals that happen at different stages and the deal amounts. So this graph is a bubble chart. So the size of the bubble indicates the number of observations. So seed rounds for the youngest firms are the most common. That's why the bubble is largest. And the bubble is also closest to 0 because those rounds are fairly small compared to other rounds. And as we climb to the later rounds, like a Series A round, that's kind of the main funding stage of a company, or Series B, or a bridge round between Series A and B, the bubbles get smaller and higher. Okay, smaller because there are fewer observations, and higher because the funding amount increases in those later rounds. You can see the same thing with Series C, which is in the later stage of a startup. As we increase the firm age, so say we look at 3 to 6, we can see a similar feature. The bubbles get smaller. There's a shift from the seed round to the Series A and Series B and so on. And the bubbles get higher as the amounts get larger. Same thing as we look at older firms, right? Kind of the same kind of feature. We can also cut the data by geography. We can see that in the US, most of the funding rounds happen in California and New York, with Illinois, Texas, Florida coming in afterwards. We can see in Europe, this is pre-Brexit, although Brexit was happening in kind of real time in 2020 or so. Most of the deals are in the UK, some in Germany, some in France following that. We can look at the raw data in terms of the number of funding rounds. So this is GDPR's announcement or enactment in April 2016, and this is GDPR's actual rollout when it took effect in May 2018. You can see that immediately, this is just raw data. After it took effect, the gap between the European Union, the US, and the rest of the world becomes larger as Europe is feeling the negative effect of GDPR, at least Europe's startups ecosystem. All right. And when we do the econometric analysis of the impact of GDPR on European ventures compared to their counterparts in the US, in India, in China, and the rest of the world, we see that the impact is significant, that seed funding for European startups decreases substantially. Primary funding, Series A, Series B, decreases substantially. The startups that suffer the most are the youngest startups, 0 to 3 years old, with the second being the slightly older startups, the 3 to 6 year old. And the startups that have more data-related businesses, business models, tend to suffer more than the ones that are less data-related, but both suffer. And the ones that are more consumer-facing, business-to-consumer ventures, tend to suffer more than the ones that are business-to-business ventures, but both suffer. And the ones that are business-to-consumer suffer immediately after GDPR is announced in 2016, and then suffer some more after GDPR rolls out. So if we're looking at on the investor side, and we compare foreign investors in European ventures to domestic investors, it turns out that foreign ventures, for example, investors from India, investors in the US that invest in European ventures, they pull out even more than domestic investors. So actually the effect on foreign investment in European ventures is practically double the effect on domestic investors. Even though both pull out their investments relative to the rest of the world, foreign investors do that twice as much. So a huge negative effect. And you can see it in the raw data, how big that effect is. All right. So just to kind of recap what I've talked about here and what I've pointed to in the beginning, compliance costs, compliance uncertainty, and general regulation that addresses one aspect without considering another aspect of an ecosystem can really harm the ecosystem. It can reduce investment. It can, as a result, reduce innovation. It can reduce what we call in economics consumer surplus. It can reduce what we call in economics economic efficiency. So the policymakers who design these sort of laws, they really have to be cognizant of these effects, because if they're not, then the cure will be worse than the disease. And that's something that is against the interest of everybody involved. Well, most everybody. I can show you one example of where somebody actually benefits from this. So when you look at the data and security sector in Europe and in the US as another example, before and after GDPR, this is one of the bright spots where venture activity actually increased after GDPR as more and more startups came to be to provide services that allow firms to manage their data flows, their compliance essentially with GDPR. Now, it's a very small bright spot because the number of firms that emerge here, the activity here is very, very small compared to the bigger picture, the bigger ecosystem. All right, so I want to conclude real quick by kind of tying this all together with where I started. And one of the things I wanted to mention to you is that Illinois Tech, the Stuart School of Business, the school that I run, has partnered with the PSG Institute of Management to create a really unique partnership that enables you to partake in some of these studies. The opportunities we developed together are truly incredible. They enable students from India to complete master's programs, really frontier, state-of-the-art master's programs in as quickly as 2 semesters in the US, if they choose to. Of course, they can extend the period of study if they would like, but if they can reduce their costs and complete the degree in as few as 2 semesters in the US by completing some of the courses ahead of time in India. This partnership focuses on what we call STEM-designated master's programs. These programs enable the students, after they complete just 2 semesters of residency in the US, to work in the US for up to 3 years with no different visa. Students can use their student visa under what's called OPT, or optional practical training, to work in the US for up to 3 years at pretty much any company. So it really opens up the set of possibilities. And companies, knowing that the students are available to work for up to 3 years with no additional visa requirements, really increases their motivation to hire those employees. The Frontier programs that we have so far included in this partnership also offer substantial scholarships and the ability to complete courses at PSG ahead of time, ahead of US arrival. So it's truly a marvelous opportunity. These programs are some of our most popular programs: the MBA Business Analytics, the Masters of Science in Marketing Analytics, and the Masters of Science in Finance. This Master of Science in Finance is the original quantitative finance program that was first in the world, offered at the Stuart School of Business, and transformed business school education worldwide, which I mentioned in the beginning. There are some other exciting programs that we're working on to include as part of this partnership, but these are the 3 Frontier and most popular programs that we have available right now. I can answer any questions you may have about these. We don't have to do that right now. You could feel free to email me as well. But I'm just super excited about these programs because they highlight our strength of 125 years of analytics education and world-class innovation, curricular innovation in finance and quantitative finance. All of these lead to tremendous opportunities for students, and the focus is primarily on career readiness and career success, with a quick tie to the Chicago business community, where many of our students end up working. To give you a little bit of a sense of the type of access you have on campus, there are state-of-the-art buildings and equipment. It includes the brand new Kaplan Center, which is just a phenomenal building that allows for creation space, entrepreneurship, collaboration. It's truly a phenomenal space. Creation, you can see the type of creation. It's just fantastic. It also includes our downtown campus, where we have a location right next to the iconic Sears Tower or Willis Tower, which has basically an entire high-rise building. You can see located right next to the Sears Tower, the tallest building in the city, with a phenomenal rooftop library that students utilize. I'll stop here and I'll hand it over back to you. You have my email address. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and feel free to send an email anytime, and I'm happy to refer you to the right person if it's a question that I cannot answer. And I'll hand it over here.
Thank you, Professor, for such an enlightening and informative session. I'm sure our audience have gained valuable insights and knowledge from your expertise. Now it's time to address any questions or concerns you may have. We have a dedicated Q&A session, so please feel free to ask your questions in the chat box, and our speaker will do his best to address them.
I think, Anchal, it would be wise to read out the questions in the chat box for the speaker to
Okay, sir. So here's the first one. Professor, nice to know that you are interdisciplinary educated professional. Eager to know when the US citizens chose to have interdisciplinary majors in their formal education.
This is a good question. Having come from an interdisciplinary background myself, one of my first priorities was to enact that at the university level when I took on my current role. And this has led to some really phenomenal innovation at the undergraduate level and at the graduate level with some of the programs. So to give you an example, the marketing analytics program brings in technology, marketing, and data science into one program, right? So it's really phenomenal to kind of bring in these different disciplines together. Same thing with business analytics, right? The program brings together data science with business administration. It creates a cohesive single program that is interdisciplinary. And the same thing with finance. Our program in quantitative finance brings in industry readiness, career readiness in finance with the theoretical knowledge in finance and the discipline of financial analytics all together into one cohesive program that also brings in fintech or financial technology. We do this at the undergraduate level as well. We have new majors in business and engineering, to give an example, in business and psychology, in economics and cybersecurity. So it has been a high priority of mine in my current role to tie together these disciplines into unique programs that are frontier programs and prepare students for successful careers. So when did the U.S. chose to do that? Well, I can tell you an example from my school directly, from the Stuart School of Business. Stuart School of Business in the early 1970s decided not to have departments, not to have departmental silos, basically break down the barriers between marketing, business, analytics, economics, break those barriers down and have faculty work across those lines. And we encourage faculty to publish in journals that align with their research, not journals that align with where they got their PhD. So we encourage faculty to perform interdisciplinary research. We've been doing this for over 50 years now. So this is not something new to us. I would say being within a technological university, it's something that we emphasize very strongly. And I take it as a huge point of pride for our school. Maybe I can progress with the next question. There's a question from the chat. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Swami. I have two questions on behalf of students. One, what are the entry conditions for the program? What branches of study in undergraduate you will take? That's a question number one. I will go by one. That's the first one.
Okay. The beautiful thing about being in business, in a business school environment, is that your undergraduate major can be as diverse and as interdisciplinary, as wide-ranging as you'd like. You will still benefit from business education, and we will benefit from having you in the class. So there are no restrictions on your undergraduate degree discipline. We do want you to be equipped for success. So there are some requirements about GPA. GPA needs to be high enough, or if it's not high enough, there needs to be some other metrics that justify, such as certain experiences, certain work experience, certain career experiences that can make up for that gap. Through our partnership with PSG, we already pre-select students to partake in this program. So I have very little concern that you'll be a good fit if you come through this partnership.
Thank you. I have just one more question. Since you have long experience of teaching students from all over the globe coming to the Stuart School of Business, I would like to know, typically from our Indian undergraduate students, what do you see as strength and what do you see area of improvement before they come to you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Our students that come from India are truly phenomenal. They're outstanding from a disciplinary standpoint, from a preparation standpoint, from a motivation standpoint. They're really great. Some of the areas that we've seen as, I wouldn't say weaknesses, but I would say as areas that can benefit from improvement is the soft skills, business communication skills, the business writing skills, the business presentation skills. These are what we call soft skills, and we also call them business competencies. And so we place a big focus on strengthening those off the bat. In fact, before students even get here, we offer a boot camp over the summer in business competencies and soft skills. so that we can offer students the opportunity to get a head start. When students get to campus, one of the first things they go through is an orientation program that is 12 weeks long that's called ACE, Advancing Career and Education. And it focuses on soft skills as well, because we want students to be successful in the job market. We want them to be ready for their internship or their first job placement. And so we care very, very strongly about smoothing those edges, those potentially rough edges, so that they are successful.
Very nice. I do have similar comments only. Thank you.
Great. I will follow up then with the questions from the chat. One of the next questions was, which agency performs the function of data regulator? I assume in the U.S. It's funny. It's not a single agency because it depends on the law. We don't have an economy-wide, a market-wide law. We have kind of specific laws. So to give you an example, for financial markets, we have a law called the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, GLB, that was enacted in the late 1990s, early 2000s. And GLB governs data flows in financial markets. Part of GLB is enforced by the Federal Trade Commission. Another law is COPA, which focuses on children privacy. That one is also enforced by the Federal Trade Commission. Another law is HIPAA, which focuses on health privacy. That one is enforced by another agency, with some responsibility on the Federal Trade Commission, given that the FTC focuses on consumer protection. So the closest thing to a data regulator in the US is the Federal Trade Commission, but it's not uniquely the Federal Trade Commission. Next comment in the chat, nice that you have innovative programs in your university, like quantitative finance, where there is perfect marriage between data science, statistics, and finance. Agreed. This was truly a miracle, this program that came to be in the early 1990s and is taught to this day. To give you a little bit more context, in the 1990s, in the early 1990s, late 1980s, an individual by the name of Jack Wing was the CEO of Chicago Corp, and later on went to be CEO of ABN AMRO, one of the largest mortgage providers in the world. And Jack Wing joined the Stuart School of Business as a professor of finance during that time period and helped develop the program on the ground with Chicago's world-class finance community. And that program, when it was released, not only was a world first, but it also established the field, quantitative finance, as an academic discipline. And since then, it went on to transform business school education worldwide as other business schools adopted similar programs, seeing the great value of it. So it's really a point of pride for Stuart, for the Stuart School of Business, to have the original home of quantitative finance, of the master's program, and being the place where the discipline was established, this academic discipline was established. So that's a big point of pride. All right, any other questions? Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Professor, that you have so much of interest in Indian students. You have teaching special courses in soft skills to make them employable and make them more market suitable for employment. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Any more questions?
I would suggest our young students may ask some questions. Okay, Anjali, you can go ahead.
Okay. I hope everyone is clear with the session and there are no queries. So now let's move on to the next talk, which Dr. Bulent Erenay will handle, and it's about the global chain supply of analytics. So I once again invite Dr. Harish, Professor of PhD Institute of Management, to introduce our second speaker, Dr. Bulent Erenay, to the audience. Over to you, sir.
Yeah.
Global supply chain analytics.
Yes. So first of all, thanks, Professor Liad, and I apologize to Dr. Bulent and Dr. Abdullah, who's part from NKU University. I apologize for the delay. So yes, can we start your session, Professor?
Yeah, I'll start first. My name is Dr. Abdullah Al-Barani. Thank you, Dr. Harish, for inviting us for this partnership with PSG. We're really excited about that. Um, the hat I'm wearing today is the hat of Associate Dean for Graduate Studies and Research, and we're excited to talk to you about our program and share some background. Just on a personal level, I came to the United States to pursue my education, and I've gone through the educational system over here. I'm originally from Oman, Muscat, Oman, to be more specific. So I've gone through the OPT process. I've gone through the educational and the transitional process. So working with our students that come from PSG is one of the highlights for me and something that I'm really excited about continuing in the future. So what I will do is I will share with you a quick presentation about the Haile College of Business. Can everybody see my screen? If you could give me a thumbs up or leave a chat, that would be great.
So it's visible.
Perfect. All right. So the Haile College of Business is hosted at Northern Kentucky University. So a little bit of background about Northern Kentucky University is the school's of roughly 16,000 students with 2,000 faculty and staff. NKU was named one of the most innovative universities according rankings from World Universities with Real Impact. We really pride ourselves on being innovative, and our innovation is through our students, through our faculty, and also through the research and intellectual property that we contribute to society. One of the other highlights of our college is we really pride ourselves in increasing economic mobility, meaning that we want our students to improve their overall financial well-being by coming to NKU. So we really invest in developing soft skills and their employability, and also give them real-world experiential learning. At NKU, you will hear a lot about experiential learning, which is how do we get you involved with real-world business? And one of our benefits is that we are in the Cincinnati region. And the thing that I love about Cincinnati is it's a metropolitan with, we have about 10 Fortune 500 companies and 2 Fortune 100 companies. And that makes it a metropolis, but it also makes it an affordable metro area. And that's one of the benefits is you get access of a big city, but without the cost of a big city. We have 80 undergraduate degrees, 22 master degrees, and then 3 doctoral programs and a law degree here as well. At the Haile College of Business, as I said, experiential learning is one of our highlights. We really want to spark your inner business leader, and we believe the best way to do that is to get you actually working in business. So we are accredited by AACSB. We also host construction management in the Haile College of Business. So we have engineers and construction managers working at the college, and that has implications for our master's program because one of our fields of specialty is construction management with respect to our master's in business administration. Our graduate programs are ranked, and we take a lot of pride in that. We are investing more and more every day, and through the partnership with PSG, it allows us to develop stronger student bodies and opportunities for our students. So we're excited about the future of our graduate programs at the Haile College of Business. As far as within the college, how many students exist? 2,900 students roughly in the Haile College of Business. 800 of those are graduate students. So we emphasize a lot on graduate education. As I said, experiential learning is really important, and you could see that by the internships that we have. We roughly have 1,000 internships per academic year. And then as far as scholarships, we award roughly $350,000 in annual scholarships to students. We believe in improving the returns on investment for our students, so minimizing the cost of the education and increasing the quality of education are both things that we invest in. In the Haile College of Business, we have 12 undergraduate programs, 3 graduate programs, and 9 minors. I will focus on our MBA. our Master's in Business Administration, the selling point of our program is we have 5-week courses. That means every 5 weeks you start a new course, and that allows you to focus on that course and learn as much about that course as you can. So it allows you to specialize in that development of that knowledge and also learn from the faculty one-on-one. The other thing that we love about our MBA program is we have what are called stacks. Stacks are concentration areas. We have a total of 13 concentration areas. Here are some of the ones that I've highlighted. So we have a finance concentration area, leadership and organizational change, innovation and competitive intelligence, project management, marketing, data analytics, healthcare administration, supply chain, and as I said earlier, construction management is one of our focus areas of the MBA. We roughly have 30 to 40 students that are on campus through our international programs on an annual basis. So we hope that you consider the Haile College of Business as a possible career path for you. And one thing that we are working on just to develop the soft skills with our students is we are working on developing experiential learning at the college level. So we have a lot of businesses that come to the Haile College of Business asking for projects, and we involve our students from PSG into those programs so they could work through developing the soft skills, but also have items on their resume to indicate that they have worked in the United States already. So when they go searching for a job, they can show that they've already had experience. Once again, highlighting the importance that we have towards experiential learning and real world application of the content that they learn in the classroom to solve real world problems. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I would love to continue the conversation. Dr. Bulent has a great presentation ahead for you. He's one of our top academics and researchers at the Haile College of Business, and I'm excited for you to learn from him. I will hang around so you could have questions from me at the Q&A. But for right now, Dr. Bulent, the floor is yours. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Abdullah. Thank you, Dr. Bahrain. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Bulent Erenay. I'm not going to take too much time of yours. I am asked to talk about supply chain data analytics and job opportunities, etc. in that area. I will try to figure out how to share this. So let me go ahead and let's start this one first. Sorry. Let's take this one over here. I'm gonna bring this, and then let's start this one. We can share this one. All right, great. Can you let me know if you guys can see my screen, please?
I can see it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so I will talk about supply chain data analytics, and I'll try to make it short. First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. I can move on to the next one. Okay, great. First of all, I'm going to talk about myself. I promise it's going to be very short. I am told that you guys are engineers mostly, so I will let you guys know what supply chain is. Since the presentation is like 10-15 minutes, there is no way that I can teach you guys what supply chain management here. I'm going to talk about what supply chain data analytics, and I'm going to give you guys some applications, some examples of applications in various industries and in various companies. Okay, so with myself, I am an industrial engineer, so I am an engineer like you guys. My education is all about industrial engineering or industrial systems engineering. I got my bachelor's degree and master's degree from Turkey, Yıldız Technical University. So I went through I took the road Abdullah took. And I got here to get my PhD, and then I got the OPT, I got H-1B, I got green card, and then I got citizenship and everything. I finished my PhD at Ohio University in Industrial and Systems Engineering, and I also did a health PhD at the University of Louisville. So I work as a manufacturing engineer, industrial engineer, data analyst, and also professor in various companies. I'm not going to talk about what they are over here one more time, but mostly if I'm talking about data analysis, I do know what I'm talking about, and I'm talking about not all, but most supply chain issues, I do know them from my experience. So what is supply chain management in very short, in simple terms, in layman terms? We are talking about the management and control of materials, information, and finance, or the monies, through supply chain entities. So we are talking about raw material suppliers, we talk about intermediate component manufacturers, we talk about manufacturing companies, wholesalers, distributors, third-party logistics companies, retailers, customs, and all along. And we are looking at the movement of materials, movement of information, and movement of finance, movement of money through all these entities, from from raw material suppliers to the customs, and also from the customers to the raw material suppliers. So what kind of things go into supply chain management? So what are the things, what are the tasks, what are the processes that that we should focus in supply chain management? So since it's raw material supply, we are going to talk about buying stuff from them, procurement, or buying, process design, forecasting, capacity planning, inventory management, production planning, control, purchasing, logistics, packaging, transport, NLT. It goes on like that. So anything that goes into any process, any task, any job that goes into these whole companies can be considered part of supply chain management. I want you guys to keep these things in mind, because all these things are actually will be used supply chain data analytics as well. So when we talk about data analytics, we are talking about data analytics in procurement, we are talking about data analytics in forecasting, we are talking about data analytics in capacity planning, mostly in inventory management, production planning, control, and etc. I know I do talk very fast. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm trying to use the time wisely here. So what is supply chain data analytics? It is really no different than other data analytics. So when we talk about marketing data analytics or marketing analytics, we talk about using data analytics in the marketing area. And in supply chain data analytics, we are really talking about using data analytics in supply chain field. So it is no different really. We are talking about the collecting, analyzing, and interpreting data related to all supply chain management. So where do we get the data? That we get data in supply chain. We get data from ERPs, enterprise resource planning softwares. We get data from CRMs, customer relationship management, WMS, warehouse management system, TMS, transportation management system. We get data from sensors in warehouses, in manufacturing systems. We get data from IoT, Internet of Things devices, and all other things. I mean, I put all the only internal, some of the internal data sources here, but actually, when we talk about supply chain data analytics, we get data from external areas. For example, we use weather data to talk about optimizing transportation routes for trucks and for ships and for etc. And in order to analyze these data efficiently, we have to put them in a central repository or a data warehouse. When we talk about data analytics or supply chain data, we mostly focus on three main areas. The first one is descriptive, the second one is predictive, and the third one is prescriptive data analytics. I'm not going to, again, since we have very little time, I'm not going to really talk about what they are, but very short. When we say descriptive data analytics, we are talking about descriptive statistics, visualizations, data dashboards, reports, and etc., queries, and etc. When we talk about predictive data analytics, especially in supply chain field, we talk about time series analysis, we talk about forecasting, we talk about developing machine learning models to predict anything. It may be price, it may be demand, it may be supply, it may be anything. And we also use simulation for those purposes. When we talk about prescriptive data analysis, actually this one is actually the first one talks about descriptive, talks about what has happened. Predictive talks about what will happen. The prescriptive data analytics actually talks about the best course of action. Okay, now you have everything. What is the best course of action to optimize whatever you guys are working on? So in the prescriptive one, we use mathematical modeling, meta-heuristics such as genetic algorithms, similarity annealing, artificial bee colonies, and etc. There are many different meta-heuristics, algorithms. We use simulations, we use heuristics, and we also use decision analysis. There are some couple other terms used in data analytics or supply chain data analytics, like diagnostic analytics or real-time analytics or data visualization. But again, I'm just skipping all that. So the key areas that we use supply chain data analytics is forecasting, inventory management, supply management, risk management, logistics and transportation management, and also KPI improvement. There are many more areas. So if you have a pharmaceutical, let's say that you are working at a pharmaceutical company, anything that goes into movement of materials, movement of money actually related to supply chain data analytics. Okay. I hope this is clear. So let's talk about C's. I want you to look at the forecasting, inventory management, supply management, risk management, logistics, etc. This is supply chain data analytics skills. You'll see that in retail industry, for example, these are the applications of supply chain data analytics in various industries. In retail industry, we talk about optimizing inventory management. We talk about demand forecasting. We talk about supply performance. In the fashion industry, production planning, and scheduling, optimizing logistics, tracking equipment performance, identifying bottlenecks, and etc. In healthcare industry, we are talking about managing the inventory again, forecasting demand, tracking inventory levels, optimizing procurement processes, and etc. In e-commerce, online retail industry, again inventory, order fulfillment, improving customer service. By the way, I mean, just because I didn't put customer service in any of these doesn't mean that it's not related to all those industries as well. In any industry, when you are working on data analytics, you are trying to improve the customer service. That is the end goal. You are either or you are trying to minimize costs or you are trying to maximize profit. In food and beverage industry, maintain freshness, minimizing waste, and managing perishable inventory. As you can see, there are common words over here. So we are in industry, we are trying to optimize inventory management. We do forecasting. In its again, inventory levels, forecasting, inventory levels, customer service. Everything is related to actually, as you can see, following the product, following the product through the entities of supply chain management. All right, how do companies use supply chain data analytics? Am I on time? 11:01 a.m. I do hope that I'm on time. So I'm going to give you guys a couple examples that are really, I mean, if you just do a quick research, you are going to see a lot of examples of companies using supply chain data analytics to improve their processes. This is Procter & Gamble. This is one of the companies in Cincinnati. They achieved $500 million savings in inventory costs by optimizing inventory management and demand forecasting. Intel, 20% reduction in manufacturing cycle time. Nestle, $4 million in year in procurement costs, working on supply performance and streamline their sourcing processes. Nike, they reduced excess inventory by 12%. 12% is a huge number. It's a huge number. Even 1%, reducing the inventory levels by 1% means millions of dollars for companies. Okay, so 12% is a lot. UPS, they optimize their route planning and delivery operations using mathematical modeling and optimization models, and they're $50 million annual saving. General Electric, they improve their procurement processes and supply management and $500 million of saving, and they did that by doing 15% reduction in the procurement cost. Target, $2 billion by working their inventory levels using supply chain data analytics. They reduce their stockouts as well. BMW optimize production planning and inventory management processes. They reduce the overall inventory by 50%. Again, one more time, even 1% reduction is huge for these companies. Cisco, you know what Cisco does. They're a high-tech electronics company. They reduce their lead times by 30%. So if they were, let's say that producing a router in 10 days, it is now 7 days. You guys can, they didn't report how much they saved by doing that, but they saved a lot by only, working their obsolete inventory. DHL, they optimize their warehouse operations and order fulfillment processes, and they increase their productivity by 30%. Pfizer, they work on distribution process. They optimize at the $500 million of approximate savings, and they distribute their cost by 20% as well. Expo Logistics, this is a supply chain company. Career selection and load consolidation, they work on that part, and they achieve $40 million. I can go. Let me give you guys a couple more examples more, because I had many more, but since I don't have all your time here. Best Buy worked their inventory management, and they achieved 25% reduction in stockouts. That's a huge number. Each stockout means a lost customer, and it means that I mean, they didn't lose those customers. Home Depot, that's a department store. They optimized their transportation logistics operations, and they achieved 20% reduction in transportation costs, resulting in savings of $50 million per year. Macy's, $100 million. They work on product assortment and inventory management. Ryder Systems, this is a logistics company. They work on fleet management and logistics operations, and $20 million annual savings. There are many more examples, but the point is, it pays off. It pays off. They working using supply chain data analytics, using all those methods um, in data analytics area on supply chain processes pays off. I have read some case studies. Actually, they made a company. I don't remember the name of the company on top of my head right now, but the return of investment was 3 months. Only in 3 months, they got the money. They got the money they invested in supply chain data analytics through savings only in 3 months. So there are a lot of case studies. There are a lot of success stories out there. One thing is very important. This is an ongoing effort. This is not a one-time project. So just because Macy's, for example, saved $100 million by optimizing the product assortment and inventory management, doesn't mean that they stop there. Most probably, they have a couple more project teams right now working on, optimizing those processes one more time to achieve more savings. Um, these are from my former students, former MBA students. Um, oh, yeah, the next one. Yeah, these are from my former MBA students. This is my friend. He's Indian, by the way. His name is Manjeet. He's working at BHL right now, and this is one of the projects that he's working on right now. He is working on optimizing the warehouse operations. Especially, they are focusing on the pickers. Pickers pick stuff from each shelf. You guys know if you do not know how the warehouse works, and if an order comes to a warehouse, it's assigned to a picker, and picker goes through shelves and picks up the products from the shelf and brings it to the packaging area. Is packaged and it's shipped to the customer. So they work on dynamic pick sequence, and they achieved huge savings in DHL warehouses. And Manjeet was a project leader. Manjeet was a project leader. He's an engineer like myself, and he graduated from Ohio University. And we do in at Haile College of Business, we have very strong connections with the industry, and we bring guest speakers and all the time to our classes so that they can actually show the connections of the things that we are teaching in classes to the industry. So he was one of them. This is my MBA student. He graduated, and he was working at Cisco, but I believe he is working at another company right now. So I asked him, what do you expect from supply chain analysts? What kind of technical skills? What kind of business domain knowledge? What kind of things do you expect from supply chain analysts if they graduate from our MBA program? These are a couple of things that he said. He said the technical skills are there. Needless to say, you need to have a good understanding of statistics. You need to know data visualization. You need to have the ability to problem solving, skills, creative thinking skills, and also project management skills. But one thing that always comes to my attention is you need to have business domain knowledge too. So knowing all those skills is not enough. So you may be a very good data scientist. Doesn't mean that you will land on a good supply chain data analyst job. Okay. One other thing was the business domain knowledge, and also need to say, Abdullah mentioned we are really focusing on that part, the soft skills, ability to communicate your work to business partners and leadership, and you have to be a team player as well. This is this one from Hayford, and this one is from Adam. He's my a former student of mine. He graduated from MBA program. I asked him what he does. His job, he is not a supply chain data analysis. Hayford, he's a data analyst, supply chain data analyst. But this fella, he is not a supply chain data analyst. His job he deals with suppliers, so he works as a buyer. Okay, so this is what he says. You need to know Power BI. This is a data visualization tool, as you guys know. You need to know how to forecast for vendors and customers, and also the rest is going on like that. But as you can see, the first two is related to supply chain data analytics. You have to know these two skills even though your job does not say that you're a supply chain data analyst. Um, Moving on, so the job opportunity in supply chain data analysis demand is really high. I don't know the numbers over here, but just go to Indeed.com or Monster.com or all those job searching websites, job search engines, and then search for any of these: supply chain analyst, inventory analyst, demand planner, logistics analyst. I'm not gonna read all that to you guys. All these jobs is just supply, and you are going to see thousands and thousands of them are available for each from each one. Okay. Um, One more time, as I mentioned, other supply chain jobs require data analytics skills as well. Just because you land on a job after you finish your MBA as a buyer plan doesn't mean that you don't need those skills. You still need supply chain data analytics skills. The expectations from these, all these job uh, titles or opportunities, there is not really some consensus, but there are some common characteristics that I can see. The first one is need to study data analysis and quantitative skills. You need to know stats, you need to know mathematical models, you need to know data management, you need to know simulation, etc. It goes on like that. You need to be familiar with supply chain management software. I mentioned a couple of them a couple of minutes ago. Data visualization tools like Tableau and Power BI and etc. And some analytical platforms. Excel, yes, it is always Excel. Excel is one more thing. And also, learning Python or similar language will not hurt you guys. It always will help you. Soft skills, it's always that problem solving, analytical thinking, communication, collaboration, being a team player, and also, and also the field expertise, supply chain management knowledge, and business acumen. And this one includes the KPIs, key performance indicators as well. If you are working at a warehouse company, if you are working at a third-party logistics company, you need to know what audit means. If you are working at a manufacturing company, you need to know how to deal with the productivity and etc. And is it the last slide? Let me go ahead. Yep, that's the last slide. Okay. Any questions now about our college and our supply chain data analytics? Okay, Dr. Kawasami.
Thank you, Froza. This is wonderful. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yes.
No, let me put the Bluetooth. Okay, sorry. See, my area of specialization is not supply chain management, but I do understand supply chain management is such an important area which defines everything I do from morning to evening, right, till I sleep. Everything what I do, supply chain management is behind that what I'm doing. For example, when I order lunch, if he's going to deliver me by dinner time, that is not lunch then, right?
Yes.
So everything it is important. Uh, but I have a concern, sir. I am seeing the concerns with reference to India, and possibly you would have experienced that in Turkey also, possibly United States also to a most extent. When we go through all the examples what you gave, I tell you my concern. In your second slide, the concern is not on your presentation. Concern is on the reality what is existing in the world. In your second slide, supply chain management side, you showed a reverse direction also, no? Return, recycling, reuse, right? And safe discarding, right? If you see all the examples what you have picked up today, they are all forward supply chain management. If I see, I give an example. If I take India, what I do with my used batteries, what I used with used blade, what do with my used tube lights, there is no pakka system going back in the reverse direction what you showed in that second slide. I think in most of the countries across the globe, that is the situation. If that is not rightly addressed, because you have a great tool that is supply chain management. If this tool is not effectively used for reverse direction management, also possibly we are doing disservice to this world.
Yes, yes, I definitely agree with you. Reverse logistics should be at the heart of supply chains as well, but unfortunately, it's not there. It is not there. Even if, I mean, there are a lot of sustainability is one of my other research areas. I have a couple of papers in that area too. It's a very important thing. Life cycle assessment, etc. I mean, when we are designing our product, and that's what I am trying to teach at my supply chain management capstone course. When we are designing a product, we have to design the product such as we can do the reverse logistics, the recycling easily as well. Many companies are actually doing that, and as customers, it's actually, I mean, as a researcher, I'm doing my part. I'm doing research on that one. I'm educating the young generation about the importance of reverse logistics and importance of the effects of all these materials, etc. You mentioned the batteries, etc. on the environment, especially in the developing countries like India, like Turkey, like Egypt, and all those countries. In the developed countries, there are some mechanisms to take care of that. But in the developing countries, it's not there. We know that it's not there. Okay, so I'm doing my part as a research, but actually it's mostly up to the people. If people in the United States, it's happening. In the United States, it is happening. People are putting pressure on the companies so that the companies can create, ways, methods for their products so that it can be recycled easily. You don't. I mean, if it's an electronic product, you don't just put it in the trash and expect the recycling company to take care of it, because they're not going to take care of it. We know that they're not going to take care of it. So it should be modular enough for the people who are working at the recycling facility to put them. Oh, this is plastic. I'm putting it this way. This is copper. I'm going to put it in this way. Are we there? No, we are not there. But what you are, especially, but at least in the United States, in Europe, I can say that we're in the right direction. In developing countries, no, we have a long way to go. Thank you so much. I have a passion on sustainability. I have a passion on that. Yeah, that is one thing. And as educators, it really it's really our responsibility to teach the manufacturing engineers, industrial engineers, mechanical engineers, all that people. When you're doing something, think ahead. Okay, think ahead. Be part of the solution. Like 10 years later, not right now. 10 years later, people should look at your product. Hey, thanks God for this engineer. He did the right thing when he designed this product. Again, this is a long conversation that we can have over here. I mean, Doctor, we should meet some other time. I have this is a big thing for me, but we are not there yet, unfortunately. Thank you so much for bringing it up. Thank you. Okay, any questions about our university, a great university? Okay, we have we do two things very well. We can say that we generally have small classes and we have a very good connection with our students. That is one thing. So many of my guest speakers are actually my former students. They're coming back to pay back to university. It may be Indian, it may be Hayford is from Nigeria or Ghana. No, he's from Ghana. Manjeet is from India, and Adam is from United States. So they come back to pay off because they feel like they were part of the class all the time. And the second thing is we have very good connections with the industry. We have very good connection with the community. We have very good connection with the industry. And our supply chain management program, for example, has a board that has members from all those Fortune companies, not all of them, of course, but many of those Fortune 500 companies and many of the supply chain management companies in Cincinnati area. And as Abdullah mentioned, Cincinnati is a really great place. You have the taste of the big city. We have soccer teams. I know you guys are not good in soccer, sorry. You guys are good in other things. We have soccer team, we have football team, we have baseball teams, and we have a couple really big, good universities in the field. We have big companies in the field. We have rivers, we have lakes. At the same time, it's affordable. At the same time, it's a good place to live, to raise a family, to work at. Any questions?
So we have a question in the chat box. Okay, I'll read it. How supply chain analytics supports sustainability in various sectors?
Very good question. This is no different. You are looking at the data points. You collect data from first of all, sustainability is huge. Let's put it that way. When you say sustainability, you don't just mean one thing. For example, I believe I gave you guys example. Many transportation companies are actually working on food efficiency. That helps a lot, right? So we know that many companies are working on full efficiency, and they saved a lot. For example, I believe it was UPS. They were saying that 1 mile saved by, and they did that on using data analytics. It was either UPS or FedEx, one of those big logistics companies. Each mile actually saved them, you know, a, I don't know how many gallons of fuel saved and how many millions dollars saved. So they, and in that it's really no different. You are looking at how to optimize your processes, and anything you do using data analytics, anything you do to optimize supply chain processes will have an effect on the environment, will have an effect on sustainability. We are talking about the movement of products here. Okay, we are talking about monoculture. So we are using fuel, we are using people, we are using all of those resources to do that. If you just cut the, for example, lead time by 1 day, it means that you are using 1 day less on those container ships, and you guys can calculate how much money you can save from that. So it's a big area. If you just look at if you just, for example, let me give you, may see rider system. Okay, I'm reading from the rider system. Optimize its fleet management and logistics operations. They achieved 15% improvement in food efficiency, resulting in savings of $20 million. $20 million, yeah, they are saving $20 million. As a researcher, I don't care about that part. But in fuel efficiency, 15% fuel efficiency, that is a lot. That is a lot of efficiency. Okay, I do hope that I could answer your question. Anyone else?
There's a raised hand.
Raise hand.
Swati?
Swati, yeah.
Ashwati, do you have any question?
I don't know how to see the chat here. Whiteboard jam change. I can't see that. Okay.
Ashwati, have you raised a question, or that by mistake you have clicked that?
Okay. All right. Okay. I believe that will be it. Another question.
Any more questions?
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having us today.
So let's take a moment to capture this virtual gathering with a group photograph. I call upon Ms. Akshara Manoj, designer of IEEE ETSO Kerala chapter, to do the honor. Everyone, please switch on your camera.
Okay. Dr. Bahrani and me, we put our emails on the chat. You guys can email us if you guys have any questions about our university, our program, or supply chain or sustainability. We are here, or economics. By the way, Dr. Bahrani has great program in economics area as well. Just checking what he's doing on his YouTube videos as well. Or you guys can find us on LinkedIn too. So you just search for our names on LinkedIn and connect with us. And if you guys have any question about everything, as we told before, we actually moved through all that OPT process and etc. in the United States and worked here and got our citizenship here. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. We done? Can we leave?
Are we taking the picture?
Are we taking the picture? Did you take the picture?
Akshara, please switch on your mic.
Sorry. Everyone, please turn on the camera.
Okay.
Okay, smile, please. Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, guys. Thank you.
As a token of gratitude from the ETSOC family, I invite once again Ms. Akshara Manoj, designer of IEEE ETSOC Kerala chapter, to present the virtual memento. To our first speaker, Dr. Liad Wagman. open to our second speaker, Dr. Bulent Erenay.
And our gratitude to Dr. Abdullah also.
After the vote of thanks, the feedback form will be shared in the chat box. The certificate will be distributed based on it, so kindly remember to fill it out. To extend heartfelt gratitude to our speakers, I invite Professor Reshna, Review Head of IEEE ETSO Kerala chapter, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Anshul. Good evening, one and all. As part of higher education options for young professionals, today we listen to two expert talks: the economic impact of data regulation by Dr. Liad Wagman and the global supply chain data analytics by Dr. Bulent. In his session, Dr. Wagman explains in detail on GDPR, business administration, finance and economics, technology in economics, economics impacts of data regulation, connecting data and innovation, data security sector, etc. And he had covered most of the aspects of economic impacts of data regulation, GDPR, etc. On behalf of IEEE ETSOC Kerala section and PhD Institute of Advanced Studies, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, Dr. Wagman. In the second session, Dr. Bulent delivered in different aspects of global supply chain analytics, data analytics. He briefs the basics of supply chain management, supply chain data analytics, its application in various industries, how companies use supply chain data analytics, and job opportunities in supply chain data analytics. Both sessions were informative and interesting. On behalf of IEEE ETSOC Kerala section and PhD Institute of Advanced Studies, I express our deepest appreciation to you, Dr. Bulent. Dr. Abdullah Al-Barani briefed about NKU and the Haile College of Business. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah Al-Barani. IEEE Kerala section expresses our sincere gratitude to PhD Institute of Management for their support in conducting the session. Thank you. Dr. Keshavasamy sir, our advisor, really a person who motivates all of us and be with us for all the programs being conducted. Thank you, sir, from the bottom of our heart. On behalf of the entire team, I express our gratefulness to Dr. Harish and Dr. Anil for coordinating this program. I extend my sincere gratitude to all the student leadership team of ETSOC, IEEE Kerala, for their work in bringing this event a grand success. Last but not the least, I extend our gratitude for all the persons gathered in this meet to attend the session. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you, ma'am. The feedback form is shared in the chat box. Remember to fill it out as the certificates will be distributed based on your responses. On behalf of the entire team, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you for your active participation and invaluable contributions during today's online session. Your presence and engagement have made this event a resounding success. I would like to express my deepest appreciation to our distinguished speakers for sharing their expertise, insights, and thought provoking ideas. Now, as we bid farewell for the day, I wish you all a restful and peaceful night. Thank you once again, and I eagerly look forward to our next gathering. Good night.
Thank you and good night.
Good night.